All right, gang. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. LVD Sport, and we're going to take a look at this weekend's Super Show at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, in which Tyson Fury and Conor Benn, two of Britain's three biggest commercial entities when it comes to the sport, are in action on the same card on the same night. As I said, in a stadium, and yet, if you look at all those things on paper, it doesn't actually feel as if it's actually coming into practice tomorrow night. Very odd way to promote an event. It's almost, you could almost go as far as to say that this event feels as if it's being promoted and put together by AI, such as the weirdness of how it's all come together. The press conference yesterday went on and on and on without really selling the fight whatsoever. They seemed to talk about anything other than the points that mattered. That's 2 weeks in a row this has happened. The same sort of thing happened with Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora. Very odd state of affairs. But we're going to study or take a look at the four main fights, three of which are heavyweight. And we'll start at the top. We'll start at the main event, Tyson Fury and Arslanbek Makhmudov. And in short, put it succinctly, Tyson Fury must win. Anything other than that would be a disaster. He's being borrowed for the night, essentially, by another promoter. Not really, of course, but that's kind of what's happening. Frank Warren is letting him fight on a Gold Star promotion show. And the number one rule, if you borrow somebody else's fighter and they're high profile, is don't get them beat. Frank Warren has experience with that when he borrowed James DeGale for Al Heyman for a night and had him lose to Caleb Truax. Tusk. And it'll take a brave referee who will count to 10 over Tyson Fury. It'll take a brave referee to step in and stop Tyson Fury if he's in any trouble. And it will take some brave judges to score against Tyson Fury if the fight was to go the distance, and it's even halfway close. So the only chance that Tyson Fury has of losing is if Makhmudov knocks him spark out. But that's me getting a bit too far ahead of myself. I don't think that's going to happen. But as I was saying, anything other, even a draw for Fury would be a disaster for the organisers. When I say the organisers, I mean, of course, Turkey Al Sheikh and Seller, because it's them who are essentially underpinning the event financially, in my view. And it's quite clear that the only fights that they are interested in now, as far as the heavyweight division goes, are Fury and AJ, and an absolute push, Fury Usyk 3. Anything else on top of that, I don't think will be going ahead in Saudi, or especially with the Saudi push behind it. The only fight they seem to want from the original get-go of this whole project was Fury Joshua, with the titles on the line. That doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon. But in order to preserve what they do want to do, it's obvious that, and it's imperative that Tyson Fury gets up the win. I'm sure he will, but I'm just not particularly certain of how he's going to look. It's been a year that he's been away for, just over a year, more or less, a year, 16 months. And if you can recall the last time he was away, when he took that chunk of time off, and when he came back and fought Sefer Seferi and Francesco Pianetta, which, by the way, go back and watch those fights. I don't think it's wise if Fury puts in, not that he will, but if Fury is any way, shape or form like he was in those two first comeback fights from a few years back, he will be in trouble. Anyway, I don't think that will happen. But if Tyson Fury's eye is anywhere but on the ball, I would not be surprised if it is a less than awe-inspiring performance. I'll be surprised if he does what he says he's going to do and look to knock Makhmudov out. But then by the same token, he has been training far, far away from the UK, so take of that what you will. Makhmudov, of course, is trained by Russ Amber, who was, or assistant trained, I should say, and does the cuts. Russ Amber, Makhmudov's trainer is Mark Ramsey. The well-travelled Mark Ramsey, of course. I think didn't sleep on that. Mark Ramsey's worked with all sorts of fighters, and if anybody's going to have a style or a plan for breaking down Tyson Fury, it could be Mark Ramsey. But Russ Amber, of course, he's been in Alexander Usyk's camp for the last two fights. So if anybody knows how to get into the head, perhaps, and get inside of Tyson Fury, it would be Russ Amber. So that's an interesting angle to take. But at the end of the day, it will be, I think, come hook or by crook, Tyson Fury will be getting his hand raised and will be moving on to bigger fights in the future. And then that brings us to Benn and Regis Prograis, which, to my money, this is just as it's even more fascinating than the main event, because it's Benn happened to be in the right place at the right time. He got caught in some positive crosshairs in the battle between Zuffa and Matchroom, and just happened to be right place, right time when multi millions were being thrown around, and Benn was the beneficiary. I think we're going to find out tonight or tomorrow night just exactly what Benn is made of against a fighter who knows what he's doing. For the first time, he could be up against a genuine two-handed fighter who knows his way around the ring, and he's not being brought in to be weight drained. He's not being brought in to not be a threat. But of course, the danger of course is that Regis Prograis is at least a weight division too small. This will be the highest he's ever fought at, I do believe. The fight being set for £150. So many questions as regard Benn. Is he getting down to the weight well? He hasn't been this low in weight for quite some time. I believe before the first Eubank fight was originally set back in 2022, I want to say. He's fought at over £150 since then, several times. This will be the first time that Benn has had to go through the fight night experience as a pro, the fight night experience without Matchroom in the corner. What sort of mindset will that put him in? And the thing which I think is most intriguing is this would be the first time that Benn has worked without Matchroom's conditioning guru, Dan Lawrence, which again, make of that what you will. But I think that is a big deal. He's had this man in his corner pretty much every single fight he's ever had, and he's not there anymore. And this is the man who, at the end of the day, underpins Benn and his commercial value. This is the man who got Benn up to £160. This is the man who made Benn an absolute beast at 140, a physical beast, that is, not an in-ring beast, a physical beast at £147. And he's not there anymore. So it's going to be fascinating. I would not be surprised at all if it goes absolutely memories up and Regis Prograis scores a huge win. But then you have to take into account the rumours, which have been going around a little bit more than usual, so it makes me think there is more to it than meets the eye, in that Regis Prograis is not 100%, whether a hand injury, shoulder injury, whatever injury it is. And that makes you think, is that the reason why Regis Prograis is in the other corner? Because, as I said, Benn is essentially being lent out, in all intents and purposes, by Zuffa to Gold Star. And again, like I said earlier, the rule is if you're borrowing a big name, you don't get them beat. So whether he's up against a smaller fighter who is or maybe not be compromised, fascinating to watch all the way around. Of course, the whole show has been put together so those two big commercial entities get their hands raised at the end. Whether they will or not, I do not know. Could you imagine a scenario when they both lost? That would be akin to May 1984, Mark Kaylor and Frank Bruno at the Wembley Arena, also in London, when they both lost. Black Saturday, I believe it is known. Mark Kaylor was punched from pillar to post by Buster Drayton, and Frank Bruno fell at the last. His Devon Lock moment against James Bonecrusher Smith, getting finished in the 10th and final round. Could we ever repeat of that amazing occasion? I doubt it, but as they say, those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it. There is two other interesting fights on the undercard, both heavyweight, Justice Hooney and Fraser Clark. You do get the feeling that this could be the last stand for Fraser Clark. He has to get a victory, and not only get a victory, but he has to get a victory in a convincing way. There is concerns that maybe with that long amateur career, the broken face at the gloves of Fabio Wardley, and that hard fight with Jamie Shakiva. If you haven't seen that, go back and do so. That was a war. Really surprised at how hard that was. And is it one fight too many? Justice Hooney, a big old lump. Fortunately for Fraser, he's not really the type who is a heavy-handed puncher, but he is the type of guy that takes you long distance into the later rounds, which if you are a little bit compromised, had one type fight too many, as it were, those are not the sort of fights to have. I expect Fraser to put in his usual 110%, probably be there at the end, but I do think after 10 rounds, I think Justice Hooney will get the win. But I would not be surprised, and I would not be angry at all if I'm wrong. And then the other contest that we're going to just briefly touch on, the British Heavyweight Championship fight between the aforementioned Jamie Shakiva, Jamie TKV, and Richard Riakporhe. Interesting one in that Richard Riakporhe, for me, gets a lot of projection and a lot of hype, especially now at the heavyweight division, and without having really proved anything to me. The biggest fight is he's split 2 fights with Chris Bell and Smith at Cruiser. The media, I say the guys with the cameras, they treat Richard Riakporhe as if he is an A-lister, celebrity A-lister already. He's achieved within the sport, which he hasn't quite, not to the level of projection that he gets. And Jamie Shakiva, as I said, against Fraser Clark, he is two-handed, skillful. The only thing that I think holds him back, 2 things hold him back, actually. I think it's obviously his conditioning and his attitude. He seems to have a very negative attitude generally. He's always, we'll see, talk negative about himself or what his opinions of him are by other people. And I think that holds him back. But if Jamie's in shape, Jamie's fit and focused, I think he can overcome, and this will be a bit of a surprise because I think most people are going for Riakporhe. I think he can overcome Riakporhe, who's a little bit too iron and board, a little bit too two-dimensional for me, my liking. And I think Jamie Shakiva will get the job done over 12. Fair bit more I wanted to say, get into the weeds of as regards to the promotion, but not my place to say. And besides, I'd be very much surprised if there's even anybody listening at this point. As always, thank you very much for listening, if you have done. This is LVD Sport. Enjoy the fights tomorrow. I certainly intend to. Ceremonial weigh-in later on. The big stuff has all been done away from prying eyes. So if there's any collapsed fighters, any weight issues, not that I expect there to be any, with 3 out of the 4 heavyweight, or 3 out of the 4 main card fights being heavyweight. One last thing I did want to say, touch on before I go, there won't be anybody listening to this at this point anyway, is the absolute barefaced cheek, the raw nerve of Mr. Ben Shalom. He's there during the fight week. He'll be there tonight with all the other promoters who are involved in this particular show. He had a number of fighters on the undercard, and Ben Shalom waited until fight week. The card's been written down and advertised and hype promoted for a number of weeks, and he's waited until like Tuesday, Wednesday of fight week to decide that he's going to pull those fighters out, that his fighters that are involved in the show. He's pulling them out. And not only that, but he's going to stay around the fight week as well. He's giving interviews to people while Spencer Brown is saying that he deserves a smack in the lips. Well, Ben Shalom is pulling out his fighters left and right. It is a hell of an achievement, and he's got some raw nerve. Well done, Ben Shalom. But don't be surprised if Ben Shalom's head is in somebody's bed in the near future. I got it out in the end. Blimey. Anyway, thank you very much. Enjoy the fights. Keep your gloves up and your chin down. Until next time. Thank you.